As you can see, I've set you up a little template here with some input options. The first row up here, number 2, has data, and the B column has data, the labels of the different data that you'll be entering. And of course, as we go further into the spreadsheet, there'll be more and more data labels that you add. Beyond that, we have date and age. We're going to do one column monthly, and then we're going to do annually, 2016. I guessed it, you being 20 years old, you change this to whatever age you're at, and we'll go forward here. If you're not familiar with Excel, the easy way to go forward, if you want to do multiple years, is you would just type in a pattern, for example, 2016 and 2017, highlight them both, and when this little cursor turns to an X, you can click and then drag and get all kinds of years in there. So, and while it's highlighted here, maybe I want to go ahead and hit center, so it's all centered and it looks right. But you can see the click and drag really helps you a lot. You can do 20. I would do 21 here, so it knew exactly what the pattern was. Highlight 20 to 21 and drag across, and that's done too. You can just highlight it real quick if you want to center it and see if it looks a little better for you. So that's one little trick. So you don't have to do your financial plan. Some of them I'll just pull up a different one. Here's a more complicated one, and you can see it goes for years and years and years and years. And this person started it when they were, where's their age? It should be here somewhere. This person started at 27, and the plan goes until they're 94, and so it seems like that all of this would be unbelievable for you to come up with, but you don't really have to. What you do is you set up the first column so it's right, and the second column so it is a function of the previous column, and then you can highlight it all and drag it across and see what happens over the next 90 years in this case. So we'll go back to the template. And that's what we're going to end up with. We're going to start here at the beginning. I've put a couple of things here at the upper left-hand corner just to be a summary for you so you can see exactly what you end up with. So we want an income. The income is how much money you've got bringing in. Usually it's paychecks, but it could be other things, rental properties or dividends or other things. Money coming in could be even child support or alimony or whatever other money is coming in. Money going out is outgo. Another word for outgo that's a little nicer is expenses. So your expenses are the money going out. And the difference, of course, is cash flow. So your income minus your expenses is your cash flow. I've got this set up for monthly and then, of course, annually. Your assets are the things that you own. Assets are things that you own. So a house, a car, things like that. Liabilities is money you owe. Money you owe. So if you own a house, the value of the house, let's say, is $500,000, and the liabilities is you maybe have a $400,000 mortgage. So your net worth, if that's all you had, would be $500,000 minus $400,000 is $100,000. So you can see your net worth over time here hopefully grow. The other thing I've put in here is goals, time and amount. Obviously, you're going to have a goal. So a goal would be when I'm 25, I want to have a car. I want to buy a car that costs $50,000. So you can see that I have a time, 25, and an amount, 50,000. So that would be a financial goal. These are not personal goals like watching all the greatest movies of all time. It's financial goals. Financial goals need a time and an amount. So we can put those in our financial plan and see what we're at. Maybe this is a beach house. Maybe this is a mountain cabin. Maybe it's paying off your student loans. That would be another goal to put in there. So you've got a chronological order of where you're headed. The other thing is constants. So I put some constants in here. The example plan doesn't use them. They embed them into the calculations themselves. But I like to put them outside here so we can look at it externally and then reference them in the calculation itself. So inflation, if inflation was high, what would high inflation be? We could say that is 5%. Would be pretty high. So 0.05 maybe is what we put in there. If you don't like it showing up as 0.05, which is the decimal of 5%, of course, you can just go up here and turn it into a decimal of 5%, and it looks better. It will calculate the same or you can put it back as a general number as 0.05. It's the same calculation. It's just most people prefer to make it look pretty. It's 5%. Inflation low might be 0.03, and hit enter there, and let's make that a even percent. Return safe, return moderate, return risky. So these are the returns on your investments. So if you have a very safe investment, say a bank account, we're going to say that's 1%. We're going to say that moderate return is, say, 0.05%. And risky return, or moderately risky return, let's say it's 0.8%, or not 0.8%, but 8%. And then decreasing value fast and decreasing value slow. So how fast is something depreciating in value? So if it was going to be useless in 10 years, that's pretty fast, right? So that'd be like a car. So a car in 10 years is worth nothing. So the depreciation over the time, depreciating the value would be 10% there. And depreciating slow would be more like a house. After 30 years, you've got to significantly remodel it and so on. So if we took that over 30 years, we'll just put a round number in there, say 3% per year. It's declining in value, or depreciating in value. Now, I didn't change all of these to percent, because another little trick is just do them all and then click on this and get all of them at once and get percent. Now, these numbers can change, but the reason we want to put them as constants is so if we change inflation from 5% to 6%, we'll find we can change all of the spreadsheet doing that. So we want to reference these in our calculations, and therefore if we change them here, they will change in all the numbers. They would change in all the numbers across here that we reference them in. So we want to use constants in the formulas, so we can change them once and they change in all the cells. So the next step is to start creating our own worksheet. And I've put the numbers up here, or the data in here for totals, but you now need to break it out. So you've got income and expenses, that equals your cash flow, and then you have assets and liabilities equal net worth. So we need to put that into the spreadsheet itself. So we'll just go down here and put income, and we'll go underneath it and say salary. Now we can break salary down. If you look at how this person did it, you can see, I'll zoom in here for you. You can see they had gross income, and then they made $6,500 a month. They had a 401k contribution, which was taken out of that. They had rental income at some point in their life. When did rental income come in? Wait, here it is. Rental income came in 2048. So eventually they got to rental income. I'm sorry, that's making you dizzy. So that's eventually rental income. And you can always add that afterwards. You can always insert a cell. Just go to the left-hand side here and insert, and you would insert a cell in there. I'm going to undo that because I don't want to mess up the template. So before tax income is calculated here. Taxable benefits is 25%. According to this plan, I think it's probably a little higher than that. Estimated net income estimate is $6,800. Their actual paycheck is $6,400, which means their estimates are a little bit off. They're probably paying more in taxes than they gave themselves credit for. What I think you should do, at least in your first plan, is don't worry too much about things like that aren't going on. So contributions to 401k, eventually you're going to have one. I would put that in there. Rental income, maybe not. I don't know if I'd put that in. I wouldn't worry so much about taxes. I would worry more about net income per paycheck. What am I really able to spend every month or every year after I make a 401k contribution and after tax? Even the gross income is not as important as the after-tax take-home paycheck number. So let's go back to our template. And so we'll just do salary, and we're going to make sure we're clear on this and put it gross, which is obviously pre-tax or anything. We're probably going to do a 401k contribution. If not right this minute, we're going to do it as soon as we can. So that's going to be there. And then, of course, the after-tax take home, take home pay. And so that's really the number that you get to spend. I don't know why I capitalized T there. Okay, so after tax take home pay. Put some hyphens in here, and that's a little easier to read. So that's really the number right here, and it's going to go up over time. So we could have it go up over time with inflation at 6%, or it could be even higher than that. So we'll worry about that when we get to it. But this is income. So now we've just got expenses. Expenses are going to be quite a lot. So you know you're going to have all kinds of different bills, and the more exact you can be here, the more exact your plan will be. So let's go to the example and see what they said. We have mortgage, student loans, house taxes, utilities, cell, cable, internet, phone. They merge those together. You could break those apart. Food, household maintenance, again, you could break that into several categories. Restaurants and going out are two different things, but they're both sort of entertainment. Garbage, water are utilities, car payments, all the car expenses, clothes, hair, shoes. Don't forget things that are important in here that you might not do on a regular basis. I don't know how often you buy a pair of shoes, but they're not free. This person has $30 a month in their shoe budget. Christmas family gifts, things like that. Weddings, possibly, or if you're young, you're going to have a wedding, you're going to have honeymoon, etc., engagement ring, all that kind of stuff. Pets cost money. Don't ignore that. Glasses, a couple pair of glasses a year, at least one pair is expensive. Publications, this includes your internet apps, your Netflix, all that kind of stuff would go in here. Dues, if you've got dues for PTA or beyond that, you can have union dues in your job, or you can have other things for clubs. You're going to have some vacation, we hope. House maintenance, fun, etc. is kind of a catch-all for this particular person. You can set this up any way you want, and of course you end up with expenses total. So one check here, we'll just start filling this in. Expenses, so let's say you have rent, and you have a cell phone, and you have a car payment. You can keep going here. I'm not going to fill it in for you. Just whatever expenses that you have at the moment. You can also add stuff that you know you're going to have in the future if you want to go ahead and add it, even though it's going to be years into the future. So that gets you your income and your expenses. If you have assets, what an asset would be like a 401k balance. It would be a 401k1. There's a 1 in there. Whoops. 401k balance. It could be other things. You might have stocks or bonds. Maybe you have some bonds, the savings bonds that somebody had given you as a gift. You might have those. Whatever you have as an asset is under assets. Maybe you have a house already. That would be great. And then you have liabilities. So your liabilities here, you could have student loans. You could have credit cards, etc. So your liabilities are the amount that you owe, not the payment. The payment goes up here under expenses. This is student loan payment, and this is student loan there we go. Amount due. Okay, and the same thing's true with credit cards. So this is credit cards amount due. I don't know why I can't type today. And of course you'll have a credit card payment up here in expenses. So the difference between expenses and liabilities is the amount you owe, and expenses is how much you pay every month. Now you can see this got crowded really quick, so clearly you can add rows here. One quick way to do it is to highlight several rows and then insert and it will, however many rows you highlighted, it will insert, and that way you can move things faster along. So you've got a bunch of filling in to do here on different categories and things in your life. Make it your life, not an example. And then we can go here to start filling it in. So at the top, we have monthly in column D and then annual in column E. So let's do monthly here. And let's say you're paying, I don't know, $800 a month in rent, and we want that to be annually. So in annually, instead of doing the math and typing in the number, all we're going to do is type in a formula. And to type in a formula, we're going to do equals, and it's going to be this monthly rent times 12 equals, and that's 9,600. So when we set this up as a formula, then we know if we ever change our monthly expenses, then our annual expenses will automatically change. So we simply change this to $1,000 a month, and now this is $1,200. So this is an easy way to set up your entire spreadsheet, and go ahead and do this for all of these assets. Your assets here are not monthly. Your bills are monthly. Your assets are monthly. Your assets value here. So let's say you have $2,500 into your 401k, and you have $1,000 worth of savings bonds, and maybe you have $15,000 in student loan debt, and maybe $5,000. Yikes, on a credit card. We don't want that. But you don't need to do monthly here. That's not important. But it is up here income and expense wise, because you want to see what you're changing or what you're charged every month, so you can adjust. Because rent, maybe your cell phone's $100 a month, and here's another thing you can do. Since this formula is the same, would be the same as this formula, except it would use this cell, you can take this formula and drag it down. And therefore, this cell, D29, is now being multiplied by 12. D29 times 12 gives you the total here. Let's add some of this up for totals. Let's add a total into expenses. We want our expenses to, we want to know how much our expenses are. So we have total, and we go over to the monthly. And this is a slightly different formula if you're not familiar with Excel. We hit an equals key, and then we're going to use a formula called sum, and it just popped in there. So you can use the formula that popped in here and just click on it, and it'll tell you what you want. So it's sum with parentheses, and it says number, number, number. The easy way to do that, of course, is just window this in, and we have from D28 to D33 will be part of this formula. And of course, that's what we want. So we hit enter. We get 1,200. So that's 1,000 and 100. 100 is 1,200. We know that's right. But we can just drag it across, and we'll see that formula works in the other column too. If you ever want to check the formula, you simply click in the cell, and if you double click it, it will show you the formula, and it'll highlight what's inside the formula. So that's an easy way to click it. To get out of this without clicking somewhere else, if I start clicking around other places, it could get me out, but I can also click inside the formula and click and get myself into trouble by clicking other things. So one of the things I think that's easy to get out of once you're into something like this is just hit the escape button. And the escape button will get rid of it if you've changed it. If I go in here and change it and start adding other things and it's a mess, well, instead of trying to fix it, the easy way out is to just escape. So I just like to use the escape button to get out of things. So we have a total here. One thing we can do is we have the total for our expenses, and we had expenses up here as a total. So we could just put equals, and then we go down to the expense line total and click what the expenses are now. And at the top, it'll say this cell is equal E35, and we hit enter. And so our expenses come in here, and so we can take a quick look at our cash flow. Once we put our income in, we'll get a look at our cash flow, and of course we'll have totals for assets, liabilities, and net worth. And so this is an easy little quick check if you want to put it in there. If you don't have to, if you don't, it's your plan. So now we learned that we can do sums here, we can do totals. That's pretty straightforward. One of the other things that we have in our expenses is we might have car insurance here. And we've added car insurance, as you can see. The car insurance was added as $1,200 a year. So we usually pay car insurance twice a year, maybe at $600. The bill is $1,200. So we have a formula here, and we just double click on it to pop it up, is E33 divided by 12. That's the annual divided by 12. Now that would give us the monthly, so the monthly number would be right. However, I'm going to hit escape and get out of that. However, I think that's a little tricky, because when we start moving this year, which is 2016, into 2017, the way we're going to do it is we're going to take this 12,000 rent number for 2016, and we're going to adjust it upwards for rent next year. Now we know rent next year will probably be higher than it is this year, so we're going to put a formula in there for that. So this cell will be equals, and it'll be this year's rent times one of our inflation multipliers. In this case, do we think rent's going to be rising at 6% or at 3%? I'm going to say rent's going to rise probably at 6%. I think rent's going to rise quickly. This is my estimate. This is my budget. It's my guess. So I'm going to put an inflation number in here for rent moving forward. And I'm just going to go ahead and click the cell in here. What this formula would give me is $12,000 times 6%. Well, that's the amount of inflation increase, but that's not how much the rent's going to be. The rent's going to be the inflation increase plus the original rent. So to do that and keep it consistent as we drag across the years, what we're going to do is put a constant in here, and the way Excel wants to see this is a $sign in front of the C and a $sign in front of the 13. Now, in doing that, what it tells the software is, do not, when I drag it across, do not change this cell. Go ahead and change E28. Do not change C13. And I just hit enter. And, oh, the other thing I forgot was, since we want the rent included, and in fact, this is a good example of an error. So the 720 is the increase in the rent, but we don't want the increase. We want the rent plus the increase. So the way we do that in a formula is we do a parentheses 1 plus C13, and of course we always end our parentheses. So it is the last month's rent times 1, which is last month's rent, plus the increase of 6. And that will give us 1270, the 12,000 plus the 720 increase in rent. So now this is it works, and if we drag it into 2018, we can see 2018 at the top. We can see that the next year is 6% higher, and you can see why this would work really easily all the way across the chart. So we love the idea of the dollar signs. When you click on the formula, you'll see the $C, $13. That holds the formula to this cell, and so that's going to be our increase of the inflation rate. If we want to change the inflation rate, we would just go back up here, and let's say we change it to let's go to a really low one. Let's say 0.1%, and you can see the numbers fall dramatically. Or we could go to a really high one and go 10%, and it would be much higher. So you can see the advantage in putting the formulas into a constant up here is you can make changes very quickly, and it affects everything. So that's the way we want to set this up. I strongly urge you to finish 2016 all the way through, and then go to 2017, and then after that you should be able to just drag the entire column. You could drag this entire column across, and it would move everything to your 95 years old. It makes the spreadsheet quite big and quite large, but it moves it very quickly. So that should get you going for the first go round of doing a draft plan. There's tips and techniques here on how to put this together. Remember, you're just doing a plan, a simple version. It's going to get a little more complicated when you start adding in things like houses and other things that are going to appreciate in value, and of course you're going to have taxes that you're going to put in here and so on. But you can get an idea of what spreadsheets are doing for you when you look at the example plan. This one is a situation where they're not working, and then now they have two incomes. And this person, remember, they're 27 years old, 28 years old, 29 years old. They're already married. They have one income in 2014. They have two incomes in 2015. They got some raises coming up. That's good. The other thing is that if you look to the bottom of the spreadsheet, I'll drag it up here so you can see it. You can see that the different tabs here at the bottom, there's another spreadsheet with one kid not working 7 years. So they have a dual income for 1 year, and then the next year they're planning on a family, so no kids for these years. So they have one really good job, which is nice, and then all of a sudden the jobs pick up, that we're starting to work, we're starting to add two things. That's a different life. And then of course 3 kids working, that's a different plan as well. So you can see what you're going to end up doing. You're going to do, this template is just the beginning, and then you're eventually going to get to your current situation of how you're doing now, and that'll be, you know, quite complicated. I don't want to make you dizzy here with all the complications. You can look at the template yourself. And then eventually, you know, you start running scenarios. You know, what if I have one child and I'm not working for 7 years? Or what if I have 3 kids and I keep working? So you can run as many different scenarios as you can. This person ran a whole bunch. I just took the 2 that I thought were completely opposite and ran them so you could see the difference in the numbers. And so now you've got some stuff to look at, and you can see where you're headed. You should have a good foundation of the math by now to understand that, you know, things are going to compound. This 12,000 rent going up at 6%, going up again at 6%, going up again at 6%. Oh, and one other thing, I can just pull this in here. These decimal places, there's no reason to have those there, because you're not going to, 14,292 and 19 cents makes no sense, and it makes no difference. So you can just take this little button up here and click to get rid of them. And so you kind of just click to get rid of them, and you go all the way down to dollars. And that's, it's fine. No reason to go more than dollars here. Dollars is plenty. So you've got an overview of what you should be doing. Try to get this in, and we'll talk about it in the future videos and future upcoming sessions. And we'll keep working on it until you've got something that lasts you, that makes sense until you're 94. I like 94, 95 years old, and they have quite the income. And that's quite the net worth there. So you can see that it can come into some pretty large numbers over a lifetime. A 27-year-old that saves and buys houses and so on could end up with quite a bit of money at the end if they save wisely. So you can see that there's some work to do, but the math isn't very difficult. You're dragging and copying and compounding for the most part. So when you see something that has all these numbers in them, trust me, you're not calculating those. You're dragging the formulas across. So any questions, let me know, and we'll see you in the next video.